Welcome to this video in the series Writing Academic Papers in English Language Journals. In this particular session, I discuss methods and materials. And this video presentation is written and presented by myself, Ajahn Roy, of the Naresuan University Graduate School. Again, remind you of the focus, the stream of ideas through your paper. And the materials and methods section talks about the materials and methods appropriate to your particular focus. This section is descriptive, so your English expression and grammar needs to be excellent. The main consideration in this section is to ensure that enough detail is provided to verify the findings and to enable replication of the study by an appropriately trained person. Information should be presented using the past tense of verbs, because this is what you did in the past, in chronological order, step by step. This is very important. First, you know what you did, and you must clearly explain to your reader to enable them to understand what you did. You should always review your text from the viewpoint of a reader who only has this information available to them. Processes should be described step by step, carefully stating the sequence that you followed. This is very important. Before you write your methods and materials section, I suggest you go to the internet to see the recipe, ingredients and process needed for this amazing Chinese dish. B. Leng's 8 Treasure Celestial Duck. Think carefully about the clear statement of ingredients, the clearly stated process, the description of the sequence of activities necessary, because this is quite a substantial dish. Then apply the same test to your methods and materials section. Subheadings should be used where appropriate. Reference may be made to a published paper as an alternative to describing a lengthy procedure. For example, we prepared the sample in accordance with the process in Smith & Jones 2004. Where Smith & Jones is a well-known reference, and their sample preparation method is also well-known and well understood. Many journals require mention of relevant ethics committees' approval for the study and that subjects gave informed consent. You then address the subjects of your research, or the samples used in your research. You talk about the method of sampling and recruitment of human subjects. The number of subjects is important, and particularly the justification of the sample size. There is a lot of science, in fact, in selecting an appropriate sample size so that that is appropriate to the population that you are studying. You include inclusions, exclusions and withdrawal criteria for the subjects or the samples. Why did you allow them in? Why did you refuse to allow them in? And what would happen if they withdrew? And you talk about the method of allocation to study groups. You will usually have a control group and you will have other research groups, and how were the subjects or the samples distributed among those groups. You need to discuss the variables in your research, the independent variables, the dependent variables, any extraneous outrider variables that you come across, and any control variables. And you need to talk about any pilot studies that have been done and the outcome of these pilot studies, which led to modifications to the main study. It's not unusual, for example, to do a pilot study using questionnaires that you have prepared. And you will get feedback from those questionnaires and those people, and that will impact the format of your questionnaires that you use in the main study. And you discuss and describe the materials that you used, any equipment, any instruments or measurement tools, and make sure you include the model number and the manufacturer. Then you discuss the procedures that you used. Detailed description in chronological order of exactly what was done and by whom. Any major ethical considerations. Data reduction and statistical analysis. Your method of calculating derived variables, dealing with outlying values and missing data. Methods used to summarise the data, presented in the present tense of the verbs. Statistical software that you used, name, version or release number. The statistical tests, where you cite a reference for less commonly used tests and what was compared. And your critical alpha probability p-values at which differences or relationships were considered to be statistically significant. It's essential when you are describing your procedures to use simple descriptions in simple English. This video, this presentation, is not a tutorial in English, but I will include a few recommendations here. For a substantial tutorial on English expression and grammar, you should study the other courses available online at the NU Graduate School website in the One Stop English Shop web pages. First of all, I want to quickly discuss use of respectively. Personally, I suggest that you try to avoid using respectively as much as you can. For example, instead of writing the values for A and B were X and Y respectively, write the value for A was X and for B was Y. Sometimes I see we use three items, A, B, C, respectively. This is incorrect. Respectively is used to associate positionally a list of variables with a list of values. My advice is always to avoid using respectively as much as is possible, and often, of course, it is not possible. So why do I suggest this? Well, in your writing, you should ensure a continuous stream of logically sequenced information. Your reader should be able to continue reading without having their attention dragged away from the text. If you have a long list of variables and a long list of associated values, the reader may have to spend a few moments connecting which variable to which value. That interrupts the train of thought and attention, something you do not want to do. So a few more suggestions on your writing. Often, particularly in scientific papers, the text can appear visually very confusing. A visual confusion because of the use of many long technical terms and phrases. You should pay careful attention to simple sentence construction. Not too short, not too long, not too complicated. You can achieve this by joining together short sentences relating to the same thought with words such as and, which, so, but, who, and so on. In other words, conjunctions. Alternatively, you can break long, meandering sentences full of good but complicated information into a number of shorter sentences. I have a little bit of a test here. If by the time you reach the end of the sentence, you've forgotten what the beginning was, the sentence was probably too long. Often, creating a new paragraph will greatly assist readability. And by the way, learn how to use words facilities, such as dot points, paragraph structuring, and so on. For a more complete course on English expression and grammar, you should see the course Writing Academic English, which is also on the One Stop English Shop webpage of the Graduate School, and as well, I I also suggest that you complete the course Word for Writing Academic Papers in English, which is also on the One Stop English Shop webpage of the Graduate School. So thank you for viewing this video. You can now download the PowerPoint slides for further study. And now you can go to view the video on the next section of the main body of your paper, the results section. Thank you.